Okay, let's talk about JavaScript. If you've ever felt just a little bit confused by it, trust me, you are not alone. It is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful and, most misunderstood programming languages in the world. But we're going to fix that. In the next few minutes, we're going to bust the biggest myths and get to what JavaScript really is.
I absolutely love this quote because it just sets the perfect tone for what we're about to do. You know, learning JavaScript isn't some final destination you arrive at. It's a journey. We're all figuring it out as we go. So let's just approach this as a shared discovery, together.
All right, let's dive right in and tackle the biggest, most common myth right out of the gate, the name. Seriously, this one thing causes so much confusion, but the real story behind it is actually pretty simple.
Okay, just look at this breakdown. On one side, you've got Java, made by Sun Microsystems, and on the other, JavaScript, which was born at Netscape. It wasn't even called JavaScript at first. Its original names were Mocha and then LiveScript. So why the change? Honestly, it was a marketing gimmick, pure and simple. They wanted to ride the massive hype train that Java had going at the time.
And this quote just nails it. It's probably my favorite way to explain this because it's so simple and you'll never forget it. The two languages are completely, totally, 100% unrelated, despite the similar names.
So, if it's not Java, what is it? Well, here's the thing. The language's official name is actually ECMAScript. When you and I say JavaScript, what we're really talking about is just one company's version or implementation of the ECMAScript standard. That is the language's true identity, completely separate from all that marketing baggage.
And that actually brings us to our next big question. Who's in charge here? Who owns JavaScript? A lot of people think one big company, maybe Google or Apple, is pulling all the strings. But the truth is way more interesting and a lot more collaborative.
The reality is the language is guided by a committee. It's called TC39, and it's made up of volunteers from all these different companies, even competitors like Google, Apple, and Mozilla. They all come together because they have a shared investment in the web. This isn't one company's little side project. It's this huge industry-wide effort.
So how do they decide what to change or what to add? Well, it happens through this very public, very careful process. Any new idea for a feature has to go through these 5 stages, starting as just a spark of an idea and slowly making its way to being finished. It's an open system that makes sure the language grows thoughtfully.
And here's the most important takeaway from all that. Even with all these different browsers and companies involved, they all agree to follow one single official standard. There's only one JavaScript. That's it. Now, all of this cooperation rests on a foundational principle. A core idea that's so important, it's basically the reason the web we use every single day doesn't just, fall apart.
And that principle is called backwards compatibility. The folks on the TC39 committee have this mantra: don't break the web. And they mean it. It means that code that was written way back in 1995 should, theoretically, still run just fine in a browser you downloaded yesterday. It's this huge promise that keeps old websites from just dying every time a browser updates.
But, and this is a really important distinction, while JavaScript is backwards compatible, it is not forwards compatible. That means new JavaScript code won't work in old browsers. See, if an old browser sees some new HTML or CSS it doesn't understand, it just ignores it. But with JavaScript, nope. It will see that new feature, not know what to do, and your entire script can just stop working.
Okay, time to bust another huge myth. For as long as I can remember, people have called JavaScript a scripting language or an interpreted language. It makes it sound kind of simple, maybe less serious than a compiled language. But what's really going on inside the browser engine is a whole different story. Here's the key. Before even a single line of your JavaScript code actually runs, the engine does a complete pass over the whole thing. It parses everything. Now, why does that matter? Because it means the engine can spot certain mistakes, like syntax errors, before anything even starts. A truly interpreted language would just run line by line until it hit the error and then crash. This check everything first behavior is a classic sign of a compiled language.
So, what's happening under the hood? Well, first, your code gets broken down and understood in a process called parsing. Then, it gets compiled into a highly optimized format, and only then does the engine actually execute that compiled code. It's way more sophisticated than just reading your code one line at a time.
And I think this quote just gets to the absolute heart of it. Because of this whole process, and especially because of how it finds errors before it runs, the way JavaScript behaves is fundamentally like a compiled language.
So, we've busted some pretty big myths. We've talked about the name, about who's in charge, and about how it runs. So let's put all the pieces together. What is the real JavaScript?
So here it is, the real story. JavaScript is an implementation of the official ECMAScript standard, and it's guided by a diverse, open committee. It's an incredibly flexible language that lets you write code in a bunch of different styles, and under the hood, it acts like a compiled language that is absolutely dedicated to protecting its history through backwards compatibility.
And that kind of leaves us with this one big, fascinating thought. We've seen that JavaScript is a language that goes to incredible lengths to never ever break from its past. So the big question is, how is that powerful commitment going to shape the future of the web? It's a pretty cool thing to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.